Don't drink that.
3 words, soft, almost nothing, but somehow they cut through the room, clean, sharp. Vincenzo Moretti's hand stopped mid-air. The glass hung there, just inches from his lips, like time itself had paused to watch what he would do next. Around him, the room kept moving, forks clinking, quiet laughter, music playing in the background that no one was really listening to. Everything looked normal, but it wasn't. Something had shifted, and even if they couldn't explain it, everyone felt it. His eyes moved, slowly, not searching, just confirming. Someone had stepped out of line. The waitress stood at the edge of the table. Still, too still, caught somewhere between courage and regret. Her tray tilted slightly in her hands. It was like her body had already reacted, but her mind hadn't caught up yet. She wasn't looking at him. She couldn't. Her eyes were locked on the glass, like she'd already seen what it could do. Before we go any further, let me ask you something. Have you ever seen something you weren't meant to see? Something wrong? Something dangerous? That moment where your stomach just drops, and everyone else pretends everything is fine. But you can't. You can't unsee it. You can't just walk away. If you've ever been in that kind of moment, tap the like button. I want to know how many people understand that feeling. And if you've ever had to speak up when it wasn't safe, tell me in the comments. And if stories like this hit you differently, subscribe. Because what happens next, it won't feel like just a story. Vincenzo lowered the glass. Slowly, not putting it down, not rejecting it, just lowering it, like he was adjusting to something invisible that had just changed in the air. That small movement tightened the entire room. 2 of his men shifted, subtle, barely noticeable but ready, the kind of ready that doesn't need to be announced. The waitress spoke again. Her voice shook, but it held. I saw them, in the corridor, before they brought it in. Silence. Not from him. From everything. Even the air felt like it paused. Vincenzo didn't ask who them meant. He didn't need to. Men like him didn't wait for full explanations. They read patterns, fast, before they fully formed. Still, he asked, why are you telling me this? Not curiosity, pressure, the kind that makes people fold. When her fingers tightened around the tray, knuckles pale, because I've seen what happens when people don't. That landed. Not loudly, not dramatically, just real. He looked at her properly now, not the fear, not the shaking, something deeper, tiredness, the kind that builds over time, the kind that doesn't come from one bad night, but from too many close calls, too many things swallowed. It didn't belong here, not in this room, not in this moment. One of his men stepped forward. Boss, we should... A slight movement of Vincenzo's hand, and the sentence died. Just like that. Silence snapped back into place. The waitress saw it. That's when it clicked. She wasn't talking to someone who needed protection. She was talking to someone who decided who got protected. Outside, through the glass walls, the city kept going. Cars moving, lights blinking, people living their lives, completely unaware that something dangerous had just shifted inside this room. Vincenzo leaned back slightly. Not relaxed, just observing. You didn't call security, he said. Quiet. She shook her head. I didn't know if I'd even finish the sentence. That honesty changed the air, because it meant this wasn't planned, which meant it was either stupid or true. He placed the glass down, gently, not pushing it away, just setting it there. The sound was soft, but final. One of his men stepped closer, pulling something from his jacket, Another moved toward the exits. No orders given, they just knew. But Vincenzo didn't look at any of them. Only her. "Tell me exactly what you saw." She hesitated, just for a second, then nodded. Like she'd already crossed the line, and there was no going back. "Two men," she said. "Not staff, not yours. Service corridor near the kitchen." Her voice dropped again. One kept watching the hallway, like he was counting time. The other handled the tray. She swallowed. "And they didn't touch the glass, not directly." A beat. They opened the bottle, before it even got to the table. That changed everything. This wasn't random. This was planned, careful, layered. Vincenzo tapped the table once. Quiet. A signal. Somewhere things started moving. Fast. Silent. But Lena didn't see that. She only saw his face shift. Slightly. Not anger. Something else. Recognition. Like something he'd been expecting had finally arrived. "You shouldn't have seen that," he said. She frowned. "I wasn't trying to." That should have ended it, but it didn't. It made it worse, because now she was part of it. He glanced at the glass again, then away, like it didn't matter anymore. "If you're wrong," he said calmly, "you just disrupted everything for nothing." A pause. "If you're right," his voice lowered slightly, "you just stopped something much bigger." Lena's breath caught. "I don't want any of that," she said quickly. His eyes moved back to her. This time, she felt it. Not fear, evaluation. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was something else now, something inside the situation. A variable. One of the guards leaned in, whispering something low, information coming in. Fast. Vincenzo stayed still, but something inside him shifted, because now it was real. And if it was real, then someone had made a move inside his world, without being seen, which meant this wasn't from outside. This came from within. He stood, smooth, controlled, and everyone else adjusted without thinking. Lena stepped back slightly. Instinct. Nothing went unnoticed here. Nothing. "You can leave," he said. Simple, clean. It should have ended there. But she didn't move. She looked at the door, then back at him. "I can't." He paused, not surprised, just measuring. "Why?" Her answer came slower, careful. "Because if someone was willing to do this..." She glanced at the glass. "They won't stop at one attempt." Silence. Real silence. He studied her again, but this time she didn't fit. People ran from danger, or toward it, for gain. She wasn't doing either. She stayed. For something she couldn't even explain. "Boss, extraction is ready." He nodded once, then looked at her. "You're coming with us." Immediate reaction. "No, I have work, I have..." "You had work." Soft, but final. That was different. That meant something. A device buzzed in one of the guards' hands. Results were in. The glass was poisoned. Not random, not careless, designed, slow, quiet. A death that wouldn't raise questions. Lena saw their faces change, and she understood, before anyone said it. "So, I was right," she whispered. He looked at her. "You were early." A beat, then almost under his breath. "That's worse for whoever planned it." The confirmation came quicker than anyone expected. One of Vincenzo's men stepped forward, phone to his ear. He didn't even need to say anything at first. You could already see it on his face. "It's real," he said quietly. "The compound matches. Delayed reaction. 12 hours before symptoms. 24 before failure." 24 hours. That's all it would have taken. Vincenzo would have taken that sip. Walked out of this room, lived his day like nothing was wrong. And then slowly, his body would start shutting down, from the inside. No noise, no suspicion, no connection to tonight, just gone, clean. Lena felt something in her legs weaken, not fear of him, something heavier, the realization of what she had just interrupted. She hadn't just spoken up, she had stopped something final, and she didn't even fully understand what that meant yet. Vincenzo didn't react, at least, not on the surface, but something behind his eyes shifted. Fast, quiet, like pieces were already falling into place. He glanced at the glass again, then looked away, like it didn't matter anymore. "Who supplied the bottle?" he asked. His voice was steady, too steady. "Still tracking," the man replied. "But the compound signature, it leads back to 3 sources." A brief pause, all connected to allied families. That word sat heavy in the air. Allied. Lena didn't know much about his world, but even she knew that wasn't right. Allies don't do this. Which meant this wasn't just an attack, it was betrayal from someone close enough to reach him, close enough to do it quietly, close enough to make it look like nothing. Vincenzo turned slightly, not toward his men, toward her. "You saw them," he said. "In the corridor. A beat. You'd recognize them again?" Lena swallowed. "I think so." She hesitated. "One had a scar. Here," she gestured faintly. "Left side near the eye. The other, younger. Looked nervous." She watched him take that in. Carefully, like it was already being stored somewhere important. "Then you're a witness," he said. The word didn't feel good. Witness. Not someone who helped, not someone who saved anything, just someone who saw. And in a world like his, that came with consequences. Lena felt her throat tighten. "I didn't ask for this." "No one ever does." His tone wasn't harsh, but it wasn't comforting either, just honest. He turned slightly. "Change of plan," he said. "She comes with us. Full protocol." One of the guards hesitated. "Boss, that's—" "Full protocol." Quieter, but heavier. That was enough. No one pushed back. Everything shifted. The room changed in seconds. Movements became sharper, faster. People who had been nearby were quietly separated. Phones taken, doors controlled, the whole place locked down without noise, and through all of it, Vincenzo didn't look away from her. Not like she was a problem, not like she was a risk, more like something that needed to get through this, alive. The SUV was already waiting when they reached the back. Black, dark windows, engine running, ready. Lena got in before she could think too much about it, before doubt could catch up, not because she trusted him, but because going back out there felt worse. The door shut behind her, heavy, final. Vincenzo sat across from her, close enough to watch, far enough to keep space. They didn't speak, not at first. The city moved outside, lights, people, normal life, the kind she had been part of just hours ago. Now it felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Somewhere safe. Simple. No details." "Safe for who?" That made him pause, just a little. "For you," he said. Then after a moment, "For now." That part stayed with her. She turned back to the window, looking, trying to find something familiar, something that still felt like hers. But everything looked different now. "The men in the corridor," she said quietly. "They weren't random, were they?" His jaw tightened slightly. "No, they weren't. So someone sent them." She spoke slowly, thinking as she went. "Someone who knows how you move." A pause. "Someone close enough to get inside your system." She wasn't really asking anymore. but just putting it together out loud. He watched her for a moment, longer this time. "You notice things," he said, not impressed, just noting it. "I had to," she replied. "Where I come from, missing things gets you hurt." Something crossed his face, quick, familiar, then gone. "The people who tried this tonight," he said slowly, "they'll know it failed." A pause. "And when they do," his voice lowered slightly, "they'll start asking why." His eyes met hers. "Loose ends." Another pause. "You're one of them now. Some of you know this moment, where doing the right thing changes everything, where speaking up costs you something. If you've ever been there, drop a comment and just say, 'I would have spoken.' I read those. Let's see how many people would actually stand up in a moment like this. Stay with me, because this is where it starts to get real." That settled deep. She felt it. "So what happens to me?" He didn't soften it, didn't dress it up. "That depends," he said, "on what happens next." The car turned. Then again. Deeper into places she didn't recognize. And somewhere in that quiet, something clicked. Hard. She wasn't outside this anymore. She wasn't just someone who saw something. She was part of it now, whether she wanted to be or not. The SUV slowed as it turned into a quieter street. The kind of street you don't really notice. Fewer lights, hardly anyone around. The kind of place people pass through, not stay. Lena felt it before she fully understood it. This wasn't somewhere normal. This was somewhere people weren't meant to find. The car stopped, engine still running, like it might need to move again at any moment. Vincenzo didn't open the door right away. He looked first, out the window, then the mirrors, the street, the building, everything, careful. Only then did he step out. "Stay close," he said. Calm, but firm. Lena followed. She didn't ask questions, not now. The air outside felt different, quieter, still, like the rest of the city had been left behind. They walked to the entrance. No sign, no name, just a plain door. The kind you'd walk past without thinking. Inside, everything felt controlled, clean, too clean, not empty, just stripped down, like nothing here was meant to stay. A man in a suit nodded once as they entered. No greeting, no explanation, just recognition. He led Lena down a hallway, opened a door, stepped aside. That was it. The room was simple. A bed, a closet, a bathroom, everything already arranged, like someone had prepared it ahead of time. For her. The man left without a word. The door closed behind her. Not locked, but it didn't feel open either. Lena stood there for a moment, still, trying to catch up with everything. 12 hours ago. She had been thinking about rent. Now she was here, in a place she didn't know, because she had spoken, because she hadn't stayed quiet. She let out a slow breath, then started moving. Around the room, counting steps, checking corners, looking for anything out of place. Old habits, things you don't just drop. Time passed. She wasn't sure how long, minutes, maybe longer. No one came. No one checked on her. Just silence and the distant hum of the city below. Then footsteps. Slow, steady. The door opened. Vincenzo stood there, jacket gone, sleeves rolled, a phone in his hand. Simple, new. He stepped in just enough to place it on the dresser. "If you need anything," he said. Then he turned to leave, like that was all there was to say. "Wait!" He stopped, looked back at her. No irritation, just attention. "That's it?" she asked. "You bring me here and just leave?" His face didn't change. "The door isn't locked." She let out a quiet breath. "That doesn't mean I can leave." A small pause. "So what's the difference?" He thought about it, just for a moment. "You saved my life," he said. "I don't forget that." "I didn't do it for that." "I know." Another brief pause. "That's why it matters." And just like that, he was gone. The door stayed slightly open, not wide, just enough. Like a test. Lena looked at the phone, then the door, then back again. Something settled inside her. Not fear, not relief, something in between, something new, like she had stepped into something she didn't fully understand yet. She had stopped something tonight, something serious, but now she was starting to see that stopping it had pulled her into something else entirely. Because people who got pulled into Vincenzo Moretti's world didn't just walk away. They either disappeared or they stayed and became part of it. Morning didn't feel like morning, no sunlight, no noise from outside, just a quiet knock on the door. Then a voice. "Breakfast is ready." Lena opened it. A guard stood there, still, waiting. She followed him without saying anything. Down the hallway, left, right, another turn. She counted every step without even thinking about it. It just happened. The place was bigger than she expected. Rooms opening into other rooms. Clean, neat, everything in place. Too in place. The furniture looked expensive, but untouched. Like no one actually lived there. Not a home. Something else. A place you stay when you don't want to be found. She noticed everything. The cameras. Out in the open, not hidden. The guards. Alert, but not tense. The silence. Not empty. Controlled. Vincenzo moved through it differently. She didn't see him clearly at first. Just pieces. A shadow passing by. A voice behind a wall. Low. Calm. Saying things that didn't sound like orders, but were followed instantly. She paid attention. How people straightened when he walked in. How conversations stopped without him saying anything. How no one needed things repeated. That kind of control. It wasn't just fear. It was something else. By the afternoon, she had counted 7 guards, rotating, 3 exits, 2 separate systems watching everything. And one thing that didn't sit right with her. No one questioned her being there, not once, which meant he had already said something, already explained her presence, already made space for her. She wasn't just there by accident, she had been placed. That thought stayed with her. Later, close to sunset, she slowed near a corner. Voices, low, 2 guards. Traced back to the Costello family. That can't be right. They've been aligned for years. Boss thinks someone inside is playing both sides. A pause. God, if that's true. Another voice. When is he ever wrong? Footsteps. The voices stopped, like nothing had happened. Lena kept walking, but she heard enough. Costello, allies, now something else. And just like that, this wasn't about one glass anymore. It was bigger. Something had already started. Something that had been moving long before she ever said a word. 3 days passed. Outside, everything kept moving. People went to work. Cars filled the streets. Life carried on like nothing had changed. But inside that quiet house, everything felt different. Vincenzo handled the Costello situation his way. Clean, fast, whatever needed to be done was done. Lena didn't ask questions, and he didn't offer answers. Some things were better left where they were, unspoken. On the 4th morning, he came back, a folder in his hand, different from the last one. He placed it on the table between them. "This is your choice," he said. Simple. Lena opened it slowly. Inside, documents. Her name, her real name, printed clearly, employment papers, security arrangements, an apartment in one of his buildings. Everything Real. Not a new identity, not a way to disappear, something else, something she could actually live in. "What is this?" she asked quietly, even though she already understood. "A way forward," he said, "a life where you're safe, but still yourself." She looked through the pages again, carefully, making sure she wasn't missing something. "Why?" she asked. "You could have just let me go." He didn't hesitate. "Because you saw what everyone else missed." A small pause. "That has value." She looked up at him, really looked this time, at the man who could have erased her completely, but didn't. "And if I say no?" He didn't flinch. "Then you walk away. No conditions. No one follows you. You go back to your life." That surprised her, more than anything else had. Lena sat back slightly, letting that settle. This wasn't pressure, it wasn't control, it was a real choice. "You're not trying to protect me anymore," she said slowly. "You're giving me a place." Something shifted in his expression, small, but real. "People who see clearly are rare," he said. "People who speak when it's easier to stay quiet, even rarer." Lena looked down at the papers again, then back at him, and something inside her became clear. Not fear, not obligation, something else, recognition. She took the folder, not because she had to, because she wanted to, because she chose to. At this point, there's no turning back. And what's coming next? No one in that room saw it coming, not even him. If this moment is hitting you, tap the like button. And if you know someone who would love this kind of story, share it with them. Because what comes next changes everything. "Thank you," she said softly, "for believing me." He held her gaze for a moment, then answered just as quietly, "Thank you for not staying silent." And for the first time since that night, since that glass never reached his lips, neither of them looked away. It should have felt like the end, everything tied up, a way out, something simple, but it didn't feel like that. Not to her. Lena stood there for a moment, still holding the folder, her name on those pages, her life laid out in front of her. Safe, organized, protected. It was everything she should have wanted, everything that made sense, but it still felt new, not wrong, just unfamiliar. She looked up at him again. "You're sure about this?" she asked. He didn't hesitate. "Yes, simple, certain." "And nothing changes?" she said. "I stay me?" "You stay exactly who you are," he replied. A small pause. "Just harder to reach." That made her smile. A real one this time. Small, but real, the first in a while. She nodded slowly, like she was stepping into something she didn't fully understand yet, but wasn't afraid of anymore. "Okay," she said. Quiet, but sure. That was enough. He didn't add anything, didn't try to explain more. He just closed the folder and handed it back to her. This time, not like an offer, like it was already hers. She took it, held onto it, tighter than before. Outside, the city was still moving. Cars, people, everything normal, like nothing had happened. But for her, something had changed, not broken. Changed, in a way that felt steady, like her life had shifted direction, and for once, that didn't scare her. She walked toward the door. Slow, not rushing, just going. He didn't stop her, didn't follow. He just watched, letting her make that step on her own. At the door, she paused, not because she was unsure, because something needed to be said. She turned slightly. "Whatever this is," she said, "I'm not running from it." He looked at her, really looked, and for a second, it felt like they were standing on the same ground. "No," he said quietly, "you're not." That was it. Oh, no big speech, no dramatic moment, just understanding. Lena opened the door, stepped out, and this time, it didn't feel like she was leaving something behind. It felt like she was stepping into something new, something she chose, something that chose her back. And somewhere in all of that, between everything that had happened and everything that hadn't been said, one thing became clear. This wasn't the end. Not even close. It was just where things started to change. If you've ever had to speak when silence would have been easier, then you understand this story. If this story meant something to you, tap the like button. And in the comments, tell me honestly, would you have stayed silent? Or would you have done what Lena did? And if you want more stories like this, subscribe, because this isn't just a story. It's about choices and people like you who refuse to ignore what they see.